This is part 2 of the virtualization tutorial. In part 1, I demonstrated how to define a virtual data category as well as some basic utilities for working with categories. In part 2, I will demonstrate the features that allow you to apply a virtual schema to raw data. Going back to the data category created in the previous tutorial, click on the Options down arrow. This opens the virtual schema configuration form. Listed here are all the columns, the heading labels, data type, and sample data. You can see in the column spec details that there are 13 columns listed. These were automatically detected when Essentia scanned the files during category creation. Also during the scan, Essentia identified that the data was in comma delimited format. This form allows me to customize my virtual schema, which is applied when I perform any analysis or integration process with this category. Because there were no obvious headings in my data, Essentia applied default headings of column 1 through column 13. Let's change those first. Column 1 is an account ID, column 2 is a Unix timestamp, column 3 is a user ID, column 4 is a status code. I don't really know what 5 is, so we'll leave that as is. Column 6 is source IP, column 7 port number, column 8 is domain, column 9 is page, column 10 is refer, column 11 is referring page, column 12 is user agent, and column 13 is screen resolution. Now, looking at the data types that were auto-assigned, we see that most of these numbers should not be treated as integers but as strings, since they're things like ID or status code. So let me change those. Notice up at the top, I can also select the All String button if that was appropriate. Now, going back to column 5, I'm not really sure what this is, so let's investigate. I'm going to use the query feature to preview data in that column. Let me write a simple query. Select column 5 from all logs for any time period and limit to the first 100 records. Then run. Okay. It looks like all zeros. Well, it could be that this might be some sort of flag. I don't see a use for it now, so let's remove it from the schema. Going back to the virtual schema form, I will select X for data type for that column. That tells Essentia to ignore that column during any processing or analysis job. And if I return to the query screen, I can see that it's no longer listed in the data. Now let's deal with some trickier data issues. What if the data files I am interested in are in a group of different files that have been compressed into one or more zip files? In this case, I can create the data category like before, but now I can enter a pattern in the archive field. This lets me see the files within the zip compressed file. If my target data is all the files labeled rich media, then I can add an additional rule for zip archive files and it will extract the data only from those files. For JSON and XML data that might have a more nested structure, I will need to apply some pre-processing rules to extract and format the data in the way I want it. This option allows you to apply a command to the data in your category before Essentia tries to automatically detect the structure. This can be very helpful when your data contains many different delimiters or data that isn't obviously delimited. You can view a sample of your raw data as well as enter a pre-processing command and check what the data will look like after that command is applied. Once you're happy with the results, you can save the settings with the pre-processing rules for your category. Thank you for watching this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will cover how to query directly to your raw data.